Alrighty. You ready?
Yeah.
Then welcome
to another
episode of Driving to the Res.
From your favorite hosts.
No, with your favorite hosts.
Oh, with your favorite hosts.
Larry.
And Inelia.
Okay, nice job.
Yeah, and I pronounced my name perfectly well.
You learned it over time.
Yes.
Success.
I shall call you Lorenzo.
Okay. I probably might not
answer
notice.
To it.
Yeah, might take me a little while.
Oh, Loren. Hey, Loren. No.
If you keep doing it, you might find you'll be successful.
Yeah,
you must
probably.
Just do it and do it and repeat it, and then let me know that that's what you're expecting. And after a while,
hey, Bazelle. You nearly said what? You nearly said what?
What? That's what you get called in the Coast Guard.
Yes.
They call you by your last name.
In school.
And school too? Yeah, I can't remember. That's been too long. Anyway.
Yes. I think the topic for today, our podcast today, is super interesting. Personally, I think it's very, very interesting. And absolutely something we have been talking about for months.
I think so too, and especially having come in after our Monday and Tuesday. Today, yesterday we did a after party from our podcast.
Where did you do it?
So I don't know if you know or not, but on Subscribe Star
for the second hour,
for our second hour podcast subscribers, and Walk With Me Now, of course. We do an after party where we sort of go in depth a little bit about our conversation, about our podcast.
Nice.
Whatever we talked about in the newsletter or what we talked about in the podcast or the second hour, all that up on the table to sort of have after party and say, hey, I was thinking the same thing, or basically we connect as a group. And it's kind of fun, and it's nice to be, with your tribe. I guess that's the way to say it. Yeah. You could talk about these things.
Yeah.
Whatever it happens to be, and Romeo knocked the table all day.
Yes.
And it was a nice gathering. It was nice. At the end of it, you felt good. Like, that feels nice. Feels nice.
If individuals want to have that experience, where do they go?
Well, I was going to say Tuesday, which was today, this morning, I had a second, which was a study party, because we also have a monthly class right at Subscribe Star.
Yes, and Walk With Me Now.
Right, and that class, it lasts about an hour of us talking about whatever the topic is. Last lecture was about animal communication, right?
And then
an hour of question and answers. And, it sometimes goes over, usually goes over a little bit.
A little bit.
Right. So we also had a study group to study or follow up on the...
more in depth?
I wouldn't say more in depth. It was more like you've taken the class, you've heard it, you've understood it, maybe you've applied it, and maybe you have questions about or... successes to share. It was like you gathered together and you had a little study group about it. It's like, hey, I did this, this is what I had. And we talked about 50% animal communication and 50% communication with broader everything.
Nice.
So it was a nice morning chat also. So I'm finding that fulfilling,
Nice.
and rewarding.
Yep.
And it leads into what our podcast is about this week, which is success, in a sense, right?
Are we successful?
Yeah. By what measuring stick?
Exactly.
Let's give it a read.
Okay.
No skipping the reading part this time.
Okay.
That upset me.
Oh, sorry, darling.
It's okay.
Okay. There are an overwhelming amount of teachings focused on achieving success on the earth. We're artists of the light and are here for success in co-creating a light paradigm within this timeline of experience.
Right. So even saying that, where our measure of success is in co-creating a light paradigm in this timeline.
But what exactly do we use to measure this success?
Yeah, because...
Yes, this is a conversation Larry, myself, and the team have been having for quite some time now. How do light workers such as ourselves measure success within a light-dark paradigm and a power over others paradigm?
Exactly. It's like, you're really successful in the power of others paradigm. Yay, good job. Well, I mean, that's normal measuring sticks.
How do we measure the success of bringing the message of empowerment to the masses, or in raising the vibrational frequency of Earth? Yes.
I've seen the little thing that has a Schumann resonance indicator, and it says there's a frequency of the Earth, but I don't know that it actually is changing, but I know it gets louder every now and again.
That's true.
And I think that was related to the sunbursts of whatever's.
Right.
So, I mean, we couldn't use that.
No.
So we're
looking.
like, it's like, how about this? How about this? Maybe
Can I
this.
tell you what success is to me?
Okay.
All right. Success to me is very subjective. It is very much attached to life force and evidence of the level of high frequency in a person's life. Success would look like a person who is in charge of their journey and carries it out with ease. At the same time, objective evidence has to be present and include an innate ease in navigating a light-dark paradigm. After all, we're the light path makers of the new paradigm.
Hey.
Yes?
There is light in the light-dark paradigm.
Yeah, I know.
Just saying.
Sometimes we forget.
Most every time we forget.
Yes.
Almost always, that's the thing that you forget.
Yes.
So ease in the path that you take, right?
Yes.
No unnecessary darkness.
But also be in charge of the path you take, right?
Actually picking it?
Yes, actually picking it and traveling it of your own volition and your own choices, conscious choices. That is really important, because many times when a person is following somebody else's path,
to replicate it,
or even just instructions of what the path of success should be.
Yeah.
When I look at them, I can see certain aspects of the game theory, ding, ding, dings, like, you achieved it, you achieved it.
You did it, you win. Yeah.
But it's so transient, and it doesn't really indicate success to me.
Well, I have a story.
Okay.
A short one. A friend of mine who we went fishing with a few times, he bought... Well, from the very first day he went fishing, his dream was to have a certain boat, right?
Okay.
And it's big kind that goes in Bristol Bay. It goes fast, big diesel engine. It's like 30, 40 miles an hour, and it just looks like a spaceship. You know which one I'm talking about? The big squarish looking giant. It's a giant little boat. It's the best way to describe it. Remember, as the boy whose boat is tied up next to us is the giant black one? Mm-hmm. Yeah, his boat, his new boat.
Oh, the new boat. Yes.
That was his dream, is to get one of those, right?
Okay.
His dream, his absolute dream, and to have his kids fishing with him.
Okay.
And so he was walking down the dock, and he was upset. And
when did this happen?
Oh, it's a month or two ago.
Okay.
Maybe a year.
Okay.
Somewhere between a year and a month.
Okay.
He was walking down the dock, and he had a lot of stress and pressure and this and that and the other thing. And I was asking him, so what's going on? And he was like, this and that and the other thing about this and that and the other thing. I said, about, your new boat and all that. He's like, yeah. And then I'm stirred about this. I was like, this is what you always dreamed about, is having that, right? He said, yeah. So you did it. You won. That's it. Everything now from here out is ice cream, right? And frosting. It's like, if you go catch fish with it, it's okay, cool. But you got it, right? And your boys want to fish on it, right? So you just got everything you dreamed for.
Yes.
Are you happy? Are you happy? Because he was so miserable.
Right.
It's like, maybe you should be happy for a minute. Just take the win.
Take the win.
Take the win. You got it. You got the boat you always dreamed of and the kids that want to fish it.
Yes.
So do it.
What did he say?
He took a pause and he was like, yeah, that's a good point. And he could ease into his journey again, because he had, it felt to be that he had forgotten that was his dream.
Yes. Sometimes you do.
There, right? Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
He was successful by his measure. But he tossed his measuring stick when he got his success.
Right, yeah.
So funny.
Yeah.
Anyway.
All right. How do we measure the success of bringing the message of empowerment to the masses, or in raising the vibrational frequency of the earth? Success to me is very subjective. It is very much attached to life force and evidence of the level of high frequency in a person's life. Success would look like a person who is in charge of their journey and carries it out with ease. At the same time, Objective evidence has to be present and include an innate ease in navigating light-dark paradigm. After all, we are the light path makers of the new paradigm. So we already did that part.
Yeah, but it's worth repeating.
Whenever I heard of a spiritual empowerment teacher that I'm not familiar with, the first thing I do is look at their personal life. I look at their employees, their centers, schools and such. If I see individuals who are relaxed, happy, physically and energetically healthy, then I become interested in their teachings. These things I interpret as evidence of the life force and high frequency around them. Of course, a master of a single craft is likely only successful in their craft, while the rest of their life may be a mess. Would we say that this is true success when this happens?
I think it brings me to mind the sword makers in Japan or something who spend their entire life making a sword, one sword, to the exclusion of all else, right? Or people who do that type of activity where it's just a tiny little narrow thing and that's the entirety of their experience. Maybe individually successful in a sense by their stick, right?
Well, sometimes. That's why I said sometimes, right? I have seen both. I've seen individuals who are very, very, very focused on one thing, one craft. Could be physics, chemistry, could be like painting or model making, or could be like a lawyer or an accountant, a doctor. And they're very, very, very focused on that thing to the exclusion of everything else in their life. For them, often, that exclusion doesn't mean anything, but that's very rare. Like they're completely 100% focused on their thing that they chose to be successful at. And nothing else really matters. Right? But there are a very small number of people who are like that. I have met one in my entire life. Right? I'm in my mid-50s, I think. Maybe late 50s. I don't know. Something like that.
You're in 50.
Anyways, I've met one person who was like that.
And successful.
He was successful
right?
in that, extremely successful, very happy. He considered entering a different path in life or adding a person to it, like entering a marriage. And it turned out that would not have been very good. So it didn't happen. And he dropped it. So he continued being very happy, very successful in his craft. And the rest of the individuals that I have seen do that, just concentrated on the one thing and not really paying much attention to everything else or sacrificing everything else, they haven't been happy. So to me, that data would express the fact that, generally speaking, is not conducive,
to high frequency and high life force,
right.
High frequency around them and light and giant life force.
Right.
They might have a lot of life force, but they don't have high frequency around them. That kind of thing.
Exactly.
So yeah. So I understand. They may have had the singular experience they are completely after, but most people don't come for just that one singular experience. Right. They want that plus all the other stuff.
Exactly, they do.
Okay, got it.
Yeah. For us, Larry, the team, and I, success needs to express in every single aspect of life when people are looking at our lives, right? Why? Because we teach sovereignty in all of life, not just one aspect of it. And this reminds me a little bit about when I first was asked to go public and I started the website and everything.
Yep.
A lot of people would call me a spiritual teacher.
Yeah.
That never resonated with me fully. I mean, people could call me whatever they wanted, and they did. But it never actually resonated with me because I often kept telling them, it's not just about spirituality, it's about life. And in fact, the very first course that I put out there, the Ascension 101 course, even the name would be conducive to thinking it's about spirituality.
Right.
But actually, is very much about all of life. Physical body, your mind, your feelings, your goals and everything, not just spiritual things. So for me, it's like, as a reflection of success, it would have to be all of life, not just one thing.
Yep, gotcha.
Yeah. But what is our measuring stick?
Yeah, in our conversation, right?
Yes, in our conversation.
Of what will we use for a measuring stick?
Yes.
To say, yes, this is the right thing to be doing. No, this ain't the right thing to be doing.
Right.
So,
yeah.
Interestingly enough,
Inelia shared Krishamurti's most famous quote with me the other day. It says, "It is no measure of health to be well adjusted to a profoundly sick society." He was using this to understand our reported numbers of subscribers on the internet. The numbers are not increasing as we had hoped to use as a measure of our success, because we decided, let's measure our success by how many subscribers we can get. Let's get 2 million subscribers to reach 2.5 billion people. Anyways, by now we had planned, like I just mentioned, for 2 million subscribers in our newsletter, for example, but since we put in this goal, we have not increased our numbers in any significant way. Single digits up and down, which is itself pretty remarkable if you think about it, since it would be really hard to produce the content we do in the methods and variety of places we do, and still have the subscribers remain precisely the same over a course of years.
Yeah, it's almost ridiculously impossible. It's like,
yes.
If you did nothing, or
yeah,
whatever you could come up with, I think whatever I'm going to do, I want those numbers to stay exactly the same. What do you think you would have to do to try and achieve that for a marketer?
Right.
Ooh, geez, you can't write too good of an article, honey. You might get too many eyes. You can't write it too badly because you'll lose too many eyes.
No,
so you have to write it exactly right. So and then when you talk, you probably have to be careful not to get a pretty microphone that has all these pretty colors.
Right.
Because you might attract too many people who like pretty colors.
Right, maybe.
You have to be careful not to get the...
Yes.
It's impossible.
I really like the quote.
Yeah.
Yet I'm sure many people interpret it differently. So I researched the teacher and the quote to see what was meant by it. It appears that Krishamurti never said the words.
How can it be a quote then?
But the words were a summary of various sentences he did say when talking about mental illness.
Yeah.
One of them was... And this is really important. He was literally talking about mental illness.
Yeah,
okay?
Mentally ill people.
Yes, he talked a lot about that, actually. Okay. Is society healthy that an individual should return to it? Has not society itself helped to make the individual unhealthy? Of course, the unhealthy must be made healthy. That goes without saying. But why should the individual adjust himself to an unhealthy society? If he is healthy, he will not be part of it. Without first questioning the health of our society, what is the good of helping misfits to conform to society?
I like that part in the middle. If he is healthy, he will not be part of it.
Exactly.
But it doesn't mean if you're mentally ill, that's healthy.
No. It doesn't. No.
It means that would be a natural consequence of a
unhealthy society.
Healthy person being engaged with in a unhealthy society.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Okay.
Well, a healthy person would not engage with society, so the healthy or not healthy part of them would not come into question because nobody would really pay any attention to them.
Well, I guess it matters our definition of what a healthy person is.
Right.
Yeah. A person... Anyway, yeah, we kind of get it. It's like that's the problem with the quote and the detail.
Yes.
Is without the context...
It's very easy
and
to
without the entirety, you can apply a lot of meanings to it that are all a huge variety of meanings.
Yes. Yeah.
So
when I became conscious and aware...
Wait. Forgot you were growing up still.
Oh, yeah, I'm growing up. So that's the quote.
Yeah, that's a quote.
Growing up, and for all of my early adult years, I struggled with what was the measure of success. I really did. I don't know about you. We've seen some photographs coming up on your screen just now of your success, right? There was a photograph of you in the Coast Guard, and you looked very happy. You did actually look happy in that photograph.
It was just a brand. When you first get out of boot camp, you are
Successful.
Superman. Let me tell you, Superman.
Yes.
And you're squared away, and all your stuff is in a line like it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
And your uniform is all perfect like it's supposed to be, and your boots have a little shine on them like they're supposed to be.
Yes.
And then you get there, and, the measure of success
changes.
Leaving boot camp, at boot camp, and then at your new station, massive, radical different. Oh, geez. It's like all the stuff you did ain't worth a nothing there. As a matter of fact, having shiny boots is bad.
Oh, no.
They call you a boot.
Oh, no.
Which is a negative
derogatory,
thing. Yeah. You're a dumb person wasting his time on boot camp activities, and this is the real world. We don't worry about shiny boots here.
Yeah.
But if you don't have shiny boots and you go to your inspection, then they do worry about it.
Oh, my goodness.
So you don't know what to worry about anymore. You're all
Right.
lost in space. Your new measuring stick is
all over
gotta
the place.
figure it out. It's all over the place.
Yes.
But
what about you?
at that moment, I was very happy.
Yeah, you looked very
because
happy.
I had succeeded and picked my station, and everything was like, hey, this is exactly what I asked for.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then the other boat, when we bought the North, when I say we, I mean my crew that came with me, and we rigged it and bought it and put it together and brought it out and all the other things. And we had a dream one day, one time, can we just fill this boat all the way to the top over to flow it? It seems an impossible task.
Yeah.
It's
a big boat.
practically no way that could ever happen. And if it did, it'd be a miracle. But can we just fill it with all the way to the top, over the top?
Right.
And we did.
Yeah, and the
It
photographs
took
that came out.
8 years or 8
Wow.
years, 10 years, something like that. But we used a Qigong meditation chant and a midwater net and a perfect coordination of the regulations and the season and the time. Everything worked together perfectly, and the boat got filled every square inch all the way out over the top.
Yes.
It's amazing.
Amazing, yeah.
Yeah.
So you succeeded.
Yeah.
How did that feel?
That felt excellent, really. It was like, wow, actually did it.
Yeah. And how does it feel now?
Still excellent.
Yeah. That's really good.
That's a nice.
Yeah.
Yes. You can't undo that. That's done. That one's in the bag. That boat filled to the top and over the top. I don't ever have to do it again.
Yes. Yeah.
I already did it.
That's good.
And I do not want, honestly, to buy a bigger boat. It's like, okay, good enough. Just call that good.
Oh my goodness.
You know the funny thing about that?
What?
This is a little side story. So some years ago, there was an earthquake in Kobe, Japan.
Yes.
Which seems like here we are in Niabe, Washington. That should
affect you
as zero. Even if you think maybe there's tsunami or something. Yeah, there wasn't. It's just they had a giant earthquake in Kobe. And it flattened the market over there, which it turns out is where all the sea urchins we gathered went.
Oh, boy.
Who would have guessed? The sea urchins that we grab on the bottom of the ocean in our diving mask and bring up to our little boat and then drive it to the dock. And there's this truck comes from somewhere, a whole bunch of different trucks that picks it up, takes it to Seattle, and then they open it up and they take the guts out, put it in a little tray, and then they put it in a thing and they send it to Kobe. And in Japan is where they sell it.
Wow.
Which, when there is no Kobe, it means nobody wants urchins. They can't buy urchins because there's nowhere to buy them because they didn't have a second place.
Wow.
So what we used to have and get $3, $4, $5 a pound for, we would get 0 or maybe 25 cents because they didn't know and couldn't do anything with it. So what do they want? They can't do anything with it. Can't freeze it. Can't save it. If you buy it,
you can't.
What that meant was it was like we'd had an earthquake in Nia Bay and flattened all the boats and sunk them. So I had to go to Alaska. And I went to Alaska. Well, I didn't have to.
No, you chose to go to Alaska.
Yes. We've been working on a language thing.
The language.
Of how you talk about yourself. Yeah.
Right.
Anyway, in this case, I think I will go to Alaska. I always wanted to. And I think I'll work on a giant ship because I love being on a giant ship. You know that, don't you, honey? Yes.
Yes.
And I got there and it's like 400 or 500 foot ship. It's giant, right?
Big, yes.
They have a fish hole on that thing.
Yes.
It's a freezer. And we're going fishing on this giant ship to fill it up.
Wow.
And when you get into the fish hole, the freezer, You can't see to the roof. It's so far up.
Wow. Can you imagine how big that is?
You can only barely conceive of it, let me tell you. And the thought or the idea that you could even ever fill that up was impossible to imagine.
Wow.
And when it was happening and it was filling up and we were getting boxes full and it was making up to the roof and I was watching the guys stuff them in little cracks and crannies to try and get more to fit.
Yeah.
I was like,
what the hell?
Really? It's like, it's not just fill it up like normal. It's like fill it up and fit all the little cracks and the crevices and everything to get the maximum number of boxes per all the way full and out the top of a giant ship.
Wow.
And that was only one of 4 or 5 trips that's every trip.
Wow.
To fill it all the way to the top and out the top. I'm like, holy moly. And they didn't measure that as success. One full out the top, that wasn't success?
No.
That was only a tiny measure of successful trip. Their successful trip is that needs to happen 5 or 6 times in a row.
Wow.
Something like that. It's crazy.
That is crazy, yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah, it really shows a different yardstick. And
that's a different yardstick, yeah.
Wow, yeah. All right, let me read this little bit again.
Okay.
Growing up, and for all of my early adult years, I struggled with what was the measure of success. What was I supposed to aim for? How would I measure what I thought I was supposed to be doing? I looked for guidance from my parents and teachers, but over and over again I could see that they were not succeeding by any measure. Not only not succeeding in their personal goals, but also not succeeding in life. When I became conscious and aware of what was expected of me by the human collective, rather than my parents or teachers, things changed a little bit.
Good.
Instead of pursuing what I had been told, in other words, to pursue those things that would make me happy, a contradiction in itself, as happiness does not come from external transient experiences, I decided to use a different measuring stick. This stick came with a sentence. Does me doing XYZ facilitate and accelerate the delivery of a message of empowerment or not? Of course, the delivery of the message of empowerment is not everyone's reason to be here. Most light workers are here to express their highest frequency and have that frequency reflected back to them in physical experiences. A more useful universal measuring stick for your day, actions, feelings, thoughts, and creations might be something like, if I do XYZ, does it facilitate and accelerate my expression and the physical reflection of my highest frequency?
That might be a mouthful.
One of the things that popped up for me... What?
It might be a mouthful.
Why?
Well, I love it. It's very precise. It has the precision of a magical spell, you know?
It is.
Where it hasn't got room for a wiggle of the wrong in there. Mm-hmm. And I think that it's worth mentioning that that's what it is. That's why it's worded that way, so that it has precision.
That way. It is precise.
It needs precision, and precision requires language. Language has a meaning, and in this case, this means something. So take it on board like it's written.
Yes.
Try not to I'll just...
And the other thing...
Okay.
That is often misinterpreted.
Okay.
Is that people think that this sentence is only used for very major decisions in life.
Yes.
However, this is a sentence to use from the moment you get up in the morning. If I stay in bed an extra while, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 2 hours, does it facilitate and accelerate my expression of the physical reflection of my highest frequency?
Sometimes it does.
Sometimes it does.
And sometimes it doesn't.
And sometimes it doesn't. That's why you ask it every time.
That's why you ask it every time.
If you're going to eat ice cream, right?
Yes.
Does this facilitate and accelerate my expression and the physical reflection of my highest frequency? Sometimes it does.
Maybe sometimes it doesn't.
And sometimes it doesn't.
I mowed the grass this morning. Today I've looked at it. I asked about that. I thought, yes, this time it does for sure.
Yeah.
It wasn't I'm going to martyr myself. It wasn't I got a blah, blah. It wasn't this is a chore I have to do or else X, Y. It was this is a nice thing and I want to do it. I want to try out my mower and it's a beautiful sunny afternoon. I like to do something physical outside. Mm-hmm. How is that a reflection or facilitating my expression of higher frequency and something? Well, it's not like I went out there with a, scissors and made a ugly design in there or something, right? I made it pleasant to feel and look at.
Yeah.
Yeah, so good. It did. So, yeah, the answer was yes.
Yes. So that's really important.
Right. It's not just a giant thing. Should I buy this house or not?
Right. And the other thing is that it's a very personal question to ask ourselves. And it's not something that, for example, somebody comes up to you and says, "Hey, do you want to go out with me?" And you
Sure,
say to
honey.
them, "Let me see if it facilitates and accelerates my expression of the physical reflection of higher frequency." Hold on a moment.
Hold on. I got to evaluate this
Right.
based on my,
Yeah. And furthermore, this is something that I wanted to talk about during our podcast, not so much in the written one. Very, very important.
Yes.
When we're looking at group actions,
Yes.
if we do XYZ, does it facilitate and accelerate our expression of the physical reflection of our highest frequency?
So use our.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. And I wanted to keep that for the podcast because the newsletter, like First Go, a person gets the niggle or is committed to listening to the podcast around it. That's the person who's already ready to start working and collaborating with others in their life.
Yep.
It's just something that happens.
It just happens.
It just happens.
It's irresistible.
Irresistible. Okay. One of the things that popped up for me when looking at this topic was that the way I have been measuring things is prior to doing the thing, while society measures things after the person has done them.
Cause effect.
Yeah.
Yep.
So a person gets into Stanford, people go, "Yeah, they got into Stanford. Yay. Wow, fantastic." Okay. Society measures it that way.
Mm-hmm.
When I knew I had the possibility and I would have got in, I looked and I thought to myself, does getting into Stanford,
Well, your version
Support.
of that would be something else, right?
yeah, support and facilitate the delivering the message of empowerment to the masses? And it was a no. No, most resoundingly no. It was the opposite. So, dang it.
That's
God
not fair.
dang. That's not fair. I wanted to do it.
But that's for you, not everybody.
No, not for everybody, right?
For someone else, it might be yes. But
yeah,
it's
exactly.
Like, that's the question you ask.
Yeah, exactly. It's very personal. And you could do, if I go to Stanford or get into Stanford, does it facilitate and accelerate my expression and the physical reflection of my highest frequency? Or you could do, like if you're already in a tribe, family group that is working together to create and co-create a high frequency paradigm here on Earth, you could say, if I go to Stanford, does it facilitate and accelerate our expression and the physical reflection of our highest frequency? Okay. All right. That's just instructions and about it, right?
Okay.
And I really want people to do this. Okay.
Okay.
For the next year. Oh, yeah. So it's measured before, right? You measure it before and you test it and you use your truth thing exercise and you know the yes or no. You know it. It's a knowing. It's not a belief. It's a knowing.
So you measure it before you do it, not
Yes.
after you've done it.
Exactly. And society might go, "Oh, you loser, you didn't get in, you even didn't apply, what a loser or waster." So they're measuring you by their measuring stick.
Right. It kind of reminds me of that horse with a broken leg thing.
Yeah, a little bit.
It's a little bit like that.
Yeah, it's roughly, no, maybe not.
I mean,
You do know, though. You do know what the success is beforehand. It's not like with the horse and the broken leg, they didn't know what the success was. It's just looking back, 2020 vision, you could see it.
well, the horse thing, it was that because they didn't measure, they measured how successful it was after all the things were said and done.
Right.
Then they
Not
said, see, it was a
before.
good thing.
Yeah, but not before.
Not before. No,
Right.
before
This is
they said it
before.
was bad or terrible.
Right. So, for the next year, I would like you to try this out. So, it's April 2023. I want you to try it out until April 2024. Try out changing the measuring stick to check in before you do things, or even while you're doing them, rather than afterwards. Does this negate the Krishamurti measuring stick of sick person justifiably so in a sick society? Sometimes, but not always. For example, being financially successful facilitates your physical comfort, which allows you to spend more time in your good works. Pursuing financial success as the ultimate goal, rather than what it can facilitate for you, will be unlikely to have high-frequency results. For our example of using someone else's measuring stick of success as public speakers, we have used internet statistics and analytics, as well as income, to measure our success in delivering the message of empowerment in today's society. However, we have found that the direct result of using that measuring stick has been shadow banning, censorship, and numbers that are allegedly staying the same over years of work. Yet, when we look at our lives and those around us connected to the work we do, they're filled with ease, love, companionship, inspiration, financial support, and enthusiasm, and definitely an increasing amount of allies and co-creators. That's just one example, and we will explore this further in our podcast.
In our second hour podcast?
Yes.
I imagine Ilya and Adelina have a ton of questions since we've been working and talking about this for some time now.
Yes, we have. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
And it's going to be fun. So if you want to explore this further with us, if you want to have things like after parties, if you want to have things like monthly classes, if you want to have study groups, if you like joining your tribe in your community and being able to talk to people and share your high frequency enthusiasm with life. And if doing so facilitates and accelerates your expression of the physical reflection of your highest frequency, then join us. Do it. Okay. Love you, honey.
Love you too.